Makes a huge difference if you'll do me a favor by subscribing and liking the podcast wherever you listen. It goes a long way. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy. Dr. Antoine Eid is the head of the Brain-Based Leadership Program in Cambridge since 2013. He has a PhD in business management and marketing, along with studies at Cambridge in neuroscience and behavioral genetics. He is the founder of Meet Yourself, the world's first personality assessment combining DNA testing, neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and artificial intelligence. He is also the CEO of Leapership Consultants Group. His objective is to create a world where everyone is living to their full potential. We have a wide-ranging conversation talking about human potential and understanding yourself, intuition, children, parenting, employees, employee engagement. I hope you enjoy. We made it happen.
I'm ready.
I want to know how did you get interested in Carl Jung?
So you must have read my last article then.
Yes.
And I can smelling a bit of stalking there.
That's so funny. You're the second person who said that to me today and in the last
But
couple of
that
days.
scared me even more.
It's like, no, I'm doing my research. It's not stalking, it's research. You're an interesting guy. Doing cool work. Yeah.
Well, it's nothing specific other than he's a known figure in psychology and the father of very important theories. And one of them is what I discussed in the article, which is who are we? What are we made of? How do our fears and anxieties stop us from achieving our purpose in life? And that's very much what I try to identify and understand through other sciences other than psychology.
Through
Is
what
my
other
is my
sciences?
sound quality okay?
Yeah, the my understanding is like the visual can change, but when I publish it, not publish it, but do the thing on Riverside, it ends up like cleaning up the visual quality, but audio is great. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So like yeah, so what other aspects besides psychology? Genetics or yeah, like what other
that's right.
areas?
Basically, our personality is not only our psychology, our psyche. That's part of it. And the other equally important parts are our genetics, whatever we inherit genetically, and that influences our motivators towards certain aspects and motivations in life. There's also our cognitive preferences, which develop with time and especially during childhood. And there's the psychological aspects like our habits, our ability to learn, adapt, acquire skills and different behaviors. So our personality is never just one of these. It's always that mix of these three together.
When you were a kid, go back just a couple years for you, were you interested in these things? Like, do you remember being, let's say, in grade school, like you were curious, reading, like learning about these things, or when did this spark start, like so to speak, for you?
I love this question. Thank you for asking me this. It was like that from as long as I remember. Since early childhood, I knew I was intuitive. Did not know it was intuition back then. I thought it was sensitivity or rushing to judging situations and people. And I worked very hard on trying to silence that and learn other skills, opposite skills, such as analytical skills, which I can still hear the voice inside my head telling me to wait and get facts and evidence before acting. And I did that, but it never felt the same. It ended up leading to what my intuition told me, but it did not feel the same when I got the facts and evidence. It felt nicer when it was purely intuitive. So I spent a lot of my life trying to manage that and get rid of it until I ended up understanding that whatever I was trying to change in me was actually my talent. It was my natural gift. And from the day I embraced that as being my strength, life started opening opportunities. So that has been part of my life for as long as I remember.
What age were you that if you're willing to share, we're just meeting, so, but it's just you and me talking. So, what age were you when you started to embrace it? How, like, where were you in life?
not long ago. So if I put my life in an equation, maybe three-quarters of that so far has been trying to change who I am, and the remaining quarter is embracing who I am. So a few years back, I started accepting this is who I am, and the science that I use in what I do actually helped me better understand myself. We can always change our behavior and the way we manage our emotions, we manage our drivers, our innate drivers, but we can never change who we are. Anything we are changing is a temporary behavior within a certain situation or with certain people. But we don't change who we are. People who have been in a long relationship, I don't know if you are, but in a long-term relationship, understand this concept very well. You're with someone else, you've been together for a long time, but whatever you have always bickered about, you still do. And people apologize and say, I'm sorry. They change the behavior for a week or two, but then another scenario happens and we just go back to being who we are. So we don't really change who we are. We can only adapt our behavior temporarily. So what I have done is accepted that me being intuitive, me feeling things more than knowing things is my preference. It's part of me. It is my talent. When I've done my DNA test, there was clear evidence about that in my DNA. When I've done my brain assessment, there was clear evidence that my brain's dominant preference is intuitive. And then I realized that everything else is something that I acquired. But today, I have a choice of either living within all the competencies that I've acquired or living with what drives me and motivates me inside. And that's a happier and more purposeful life. So when I accepted intuition as being my biggest strength, I started building a tool that can help people who have this intuition, who work in human development, use data added to their intuition for a powerful design of a human development intervention. It could be coaching, it could be training.
Yeah, and do you feel like in your experience, like in the Western world, that we tend to devalue intuition and we incentivize, amplify, reward the analytical side, whereas like in the Eastern world and some other, yeah, I'll say the Eastern world, like they tend to address the power of the intuition even as children.
That's a nice observation. In general, human beings tend to believe what they see, and this is how culture and religion are built. For example, you need to have artifacts to support the belief in order to create faith. Because when it's not something not tangible, you have to associate it with a visual artifact. In religion, for example, it could be, the monuments and the stuff that people worship, and it has been like that for since forever in history. If you read the Torah and the Bible and all of the holy books, there's always some type of artifact connected to a belief. Because we as human beings, we tend to believe what we see and what we touch. Yeah, it's more concrete. So probably that's one reason. The other reason is because of our educators historically have always been the analytical ones, and they have built an analytical educational system for analytical minds, not for intuitive. However, if we when we, no, today we understand that human intelligence is not only made of abstract reasoning or what is measured by IQ. There's also emotional intelligence, and there's different types of intelligence that together make a human intelligence. And speaking of this, something I never said on a podcast before,
Beautiful.
analytical intelligence, or what is measured by IQ, I would like to address it differently. So let me give you an example. A teacher in the
Please.
class is asking a question, and the same boy is raising his hand and answering first. So we say about this boy that he's intelligent, he's the smartest in class. Now, what happens if that boy is absent one day? What will happen? The teacher is going to ask questions, but this time another student is going to answer first, right? And eventually, if they're all given enough time, they might all get the right answer. So that smartness or intelligence is measured today by the speed at which information is being processed and not by the accuracy of answers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just the other day reading reading a book on Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And Charlie in there is from their annual shareholders meeting was talking exactly about this point that you're bringing up. So that's why I'm bringing it up. Is he said like we're he said Warren and I are not obsessed with the speed of information. We're obsessed with the accuracy of information. You there?
I'm here.
Okay. So
I heard Warren Buffett.
you heard that? Yes or no?
I heard Warren Buffett, and then I lost you.
Oh, and then it cut out. I'm reading a book on Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and uh, their philosophy. And Charlie says in there, Warren and I are not obsessed with the speed of information because it's only gotten faster. We are focused on the accuracy of information. This speaks exactly what you're speaking about. And I was like,
Absolutely.
yes.
And today, if we think about it, if speed defines intelligence, everyone would be super intelligent because today we prioritize speed of information to depth of information. People know much more about today about nothing,
Yes, so true.
right?
Yes.
Put one person who's 25 years of age today together with someone who's 25 years of age 200 years ago. Today, the person from today would know much more things, but there wouldn't be much depth in any of these things because we got used to being fed quick information, information that does not last long, and a lot of information at the same time. So our brains are getting rewired to need speed and discard of depth.
Yeah, on the last line of my introduction of my podcast, The Wisdom of Life, it says it's a quote from E.O. Wilson, who taught at Harvard in Boston. And he said in the 1960s, I think during a lecture or a famous talk, he said, "We're drowning in information and we're starving for wisdom."
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that was the 1960s, right? And it's not like he came up with that because I read a lot about Stoicism. I read the Stoics and big fan of Ryan Holiday, the author. And they were talking about this thousands of years ago.
Yes. True.
So how do we in this day and age course correct from being focused on the speed and superficialness of understanding to developing layers and depth of understanding, individually and collectively? How do you think about that?
I love this, but I think you wouldn't ask me this question in a year's time.
Yeah.
You might probably ask me in a year or two, is there any way for us to go back to speed? Because even speed is not going to be there. We are giving up on our intellectual abilities completely today. The World Economic Forum report this year, January this year, published a series of interesting statistics. And one of them is the human skills that are most in danger. Analytical skills tops the list and is expected to become almost inexistent before 2030. That's 5 years from. Because if today we think that social media is feeding us fast information, in 5 years we will realize that artificial intelligence has pushed us to stop thinking completely. Because what we're doing is we're stopping our ability to process information internally and we're going straight to a computer screen or our phone and asking someone else to think on our behalf. So we can say farewell to speed. That's going to be a today's commodity that will not exist in the future.
And what benefits will that provide and what costs will that bring?
Any tool that humans have created throughout history had a lot of benefits and a lot of disadvantages. I don't see anything happening today that's different from when thousands of years a human created bow and arrow. So it was a tool created for convenience. I don't have to run after the prey to catch it with my bare hands. So now I can hunt from distance, and that's convenient. But at the same time, every time we create a tool as humans for convenience, we give up on some of our existing skills. So people started becoming less fit because they don't need to run as fast. Now they can hunt from distance. And the same thing is happening right now with artificial intelligence. We've created this tool that is meant to make our lives and our thinking much faster, our problem solving faster. And through this process, we're going to be giving up on some of our important skills. Unfortunately, this time, it is our.
Yeah. You call it stalking. I was doing research. It's just terminology. But I was doing research on YouTube on you, and I was looking at shorts and videos and scrolled through, and this little video of Andrew Huberman with David Goggins. And Andrew was talking about the part of the brain where it's important to like do hard things because by doing that, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it is, doing that, it's strengthening that part of the brain. And he talked about looking at people that don't do that at their brains when they die, like that area is smaller.
That's scientifically correct.
And that's fascinating to me because the more we create this comfort, convenience, instant gratification society, the less skills we develop.
True. We still would be developing new skills, different types of skills, but we'll be giving up on existing skills.
Yes. And what happens if we give up on this human intelligence? Do we give up on our potential?
Well, to answer that, we need to define what is human potential.
Yeah.
If we asked that question 100 years ago, we and I would have a different answer. It's just, I think, from a pragmatic standpoint, it's just human evolution, nothing else. But because you and I are living in that period or transition period where we are witnessing something big happening, a leap from one technology to another, from one era to another, we can see it. Our children won't see it the way we do. They will see it as a normal part of life, just like they use the spoon today. At some point, one person was looking at the spoon and thinking, "What is this thing? This metal thing? I do not want to eat with the. I do not want to use this. I want to use my hands." And they had the exact same type of questions that you and I are having right now. Is this spoon going to influence or affect human potential? Was his question. What is human potential? We think human potential is something to discover, but and then we realize that there's more and more. So maybe human potential is in the future and not in the past. Is to be discovered and not to be digged from the past.
Yeah. And like, how do we know and how do we find out, like, however you want to answer this, but how do we know if we have unexplored potential?
Well, in my point of view, the most accurate definition of potential is whatever is written in our genetics. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please do.
Someone, I have a piano right behind me here. I play the piano by ear. I never learned the piano. Well, you can whistle anything in front of me, I can immediately play it. Now, our genes carry these potentials, they carry these talents. Someone might be born with a musical talent, and if they've never played music in their life, that doesn't mean that they're not talented. It means or that they don't have the potential. We wouldn't know they have the talent because it wasn't expressed through learning, but technically they are talented. We just did not figure it out. So our potential and our talent is whatever is written in our genes. And our purpose in life is very much connected to these. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a purpose. It would be called probably an objective to reach. But the moment we call it a purpose, it means what was I born to do? And this, would that be written in my genes? And the answer is yes. Today, you name absolutely any human trait, and we have 446 in total because I'm writing the world's first dictionary of human traits at the moment, and soon it will be published on Amazon. Name any of these traits, it has a certain level of heritability. This includes kindness, generosity, being bad to other people, absolutely anything has a level of genetic heritability. And it's not small. It varies between 30 and 70%. So in some cases, such as the analytical intelligence that we were talking about in the beginning, that has a very high genetic influence. It's above 50%. Social behavior, same story. So are we born to fulfill a certain role, or we just happen to not be exposed to an environment that nurtures that? This is the question. Maybe we are just like any other species. A lion wakes up, or you look at the beehive. They're all doing their thing. The ants in the colony, they're doing their thing. They know exactly their role. Only humans want to be something they are not. And we get tired and we get stressed and we get sick because we spend our lives trying to be what we're not. What if you are a musician? What's wrong with having a musical talent and developing that? Or being a painter or a speaker or a leader or whatever it is, and just embracing that as this is who I am. But because we're raised in an environment that keeps reminding us from the day we are born of everything we lack and everything we don't have, and that to make it in life, you have to endlessly be developing all the things that are missing. We end up developing those and missing out on developing what actually exists, which is our actual talents.
And then do you feel like the world ends up missing out?
Of course, imagine how in your opinion, would the world look like tomorrow morning if every one of us wakes up and our talents are developed? If I am the greatest jazz musician and you are the greatest speaker or whatever talent is in you, and everyone wakes up and goes to do the thing that they are passionate about, how would the world look like?
My gosh, what a beautiful world. This quote I came across years ago by Howard Thurman. Do you know who Howard Thurman was?
I
So he said, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive,
Yes,
and go do that because actually that's what the world needs.
exactly.
That is not what the world incentivizes.
No, no. And if we observe closely, we realize that most of what we develop in life in terms of our behaviors, our skills, are a function of what other people needed from us. You ask someone, why do you behave like that in the family? And the most common answer is, my wife does not like it when I behave differently. You ask somebody doing an MBA today, why are you doing an MBA? The most probable answer, it's a job requirement. I've been sent by my company to do an MBA. And we end up, because we have this great ability to learn and develop these things, we end up developing these. And there's nothing wrong with acquiring all of these skills. But the question is, how much of that aligns with what other people, what your environment wants from you, and how much aligns with who you are.
And to me, it speaks to like the outside in approach versus the inside out approach.
Hmm.
Like I completely come alive when I go inside out and I feel tremendous stress, strain, pressure, and almost destruction from the outside in. I feel free, I feel flow from inside out. I feel curiosity and creativity and gratitude and joy and all these beautiful feelings that make us human. And the outside in, I feel constrained, restricted, tied up, just like only a matter of time until I can't resist that force.
See, thank you for sharing that. And
You,
wouldn't that
you
be the way? Wouldn't that be the way life was supposed to be lived? We forgot that we can live like this. People hundreds of years ago lived like this. They did not live like we live today. And if you look closely, even our life today, we get two small windows of being who we are. When we are born, when we're young children, and again before we die. If you observe old people, they're just sitting there saying whatever they want to say, like wearing whatever they want to wear. They don't care. They're just being themselves. It's us in that period in between. We're still trying to figure out what can I do in order to get accepted,
yes, to feel that I belong.
to feel that I belong. Exactly.
And we will chase after that what other people need to try. It's like a moving target to me. Like to try to chase that goalpost that just keeps going farther and farther out, and we keep. I got to run faster. I got to do more. I got to to meet that. Try to find that sense of belonging, that sense of
Yeah.
acceptance.
Sacrificing today's happiness for future potential happiness. If I lose the next 5 kilograms, I will feel good about myself. And just before we lose them, we're distracted by a new goal. And it's like that. It doesn't end.
It's hedonic treadmill.
Hmm. Exactly.
Wow, I'm going at 6 miles per hour. Let's go 6.5, baby. And what I love is like you're talking about another way of being. another way of living, another possibility.
Think we are living the possibility right now. This is the way of being. We're just in the other possibilities. This is the reality. We are outside of it. But just a simple example, when people get tired, when people feel stressed, what do? They go to nature. They go sit in the water. We feel better when we're there because we are part of nature. We are not part of concrete. This is not the possibility. It has become the exception. I exceptionally, maybe over the weekend or during vacation, I go and do these things. But technically, this is how we should have been living every day and going to work or during vacation, taking time off for work. And it was like this before, back in the prehistoric, the sapiens, the Homo sapiens, etc. They never ate before hunting. They had to go out and hunt before eating. What do we do today? First thing in the morning, we eat and then go to work. How are we eating before going to work? Shouldn't we go work to get some food? So we're changing the way we're seeing how life should be lived. And I had the chance to sit with people, old people, and in remote areas, and the one thing and talk to them and get wisdom from them. And the one thing that I heard in common from all of them is that they are happy, experiencing genuine happiness, just doing the simple things in life.
Simplification is the highest form of sophistication.
Yes, they're not sophisticated. They're only a little bit sophisticated, not sophisticated.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. And so how do you think about like how we can educate young people so it doesn't take them, say, a lifetime, like for example, going to their or something like that, and they're like, oh, I spent all these years and all this energy pointed in the wrong direction, so to speak. How do you think about like helping young people explore their potential and maybe even some of their hidden potential?
I love this question a lot. You know what Einstein said about that? He said the only
Yeah, I
yeah. Yes, tell
go
me.
ahead. Yeah, he
You say
said,
it.
"I only have but one talent. I only have but one talent, and that
Uh-huh.
is I am passionately curious."
Uh-huh. Yes, yes. That's close to what I wanted to say, also by Einstein. And he says
Oh, please go ahead.
the only thing interfering with my knowledge is my education. So might might answer your question a bit differently. What do we do to
Yeah,
educate people about their potential? We stop educating them. Children are going to realize their potential. The only thing standing in their way is what we are asking them to be. Because if you look closely, you were following your instinct when you were a child. You were following your potential. A daughter is sitting there painting. The son is outside playing football. We were just doing the things we enjoyed until our parents and our teachers started telling us what is good behavior and what is bad behavior. So maybe we should educate less and just let them be who they're going to be.
that makes me think of Sir Ken Robinson.
Tell me more.
So there's a TED Talk by Sir Ken that says, "Do schools kill creativity?" And he goes, "Every child is born with this curiosity and this creativity. And what happens is, when they're 5 years old, for example, they're asking why. Like when I was a kid, one of my favorite books. I mean, I would just sit on the floor and just read this book over and over and over again. And it was the questions and answers book. And it was like, why is the sky blue? And why this? And what's the longest bridge in the world? And all these things, and I was just like fascinated by it. And Ken said that he's like, if we just stepped out of the way, then that 5-year-old kid would continue to explore what interests them instead of being told, well, how are you going to make a living out of that? Right? How are you going to make a life out of that? That's not going to work. And like one of my mentors, I haven't met yet, but uh, I consider some people that mentored me through the way they've lived their life. And it is Laird Hamilton. And he's a big wave surfer, lives in Hawaii and California. And he was sitting in class and he just wanted to be out surfing. He wanted to be at the beach surfing in the ocean. And his teacher says to him, like, I think it was in third grade, says to him, Laird, he's looking out the window. She's like, Laird, pay attention. you can't eat your surfboard. In other words, you're not going to make a living from surfing. So, what we're doing in third grade, that's really going to make a difference in your life. And he's like, yeah, right. And so he goes on, he becomes this amazing surfer. He has a bunch of companies now. He's made a living from surfing, doing what he loves, being in the ocean. And to me, that's a mentor, that's an example of that, of the way to live, a way to be. I think that's beautiful.
Yes, that's so nice. Nice story.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, so how do we create systems where we as adults don't limit, don't prevent, don't inhibit our great young generation?
Well, by assuming our role properly, and our role as educators is not teaching. There is technically there is no teaching. There is only learning. You are a book. You can replace a parent with a book. We can just facilitate information, but we don't know that this is our role. Our role is to give them love and support, but not to tell them what to do. So one is to change the way we see our roles as educators, not to tell, is to facilitate. Second thing is that uh, to stop overestimating the power of learning. How do parents find out that their children have a talent? Usually, it's usually a pure trial and error process. Start putting their children in different activities until eventually the child enjoys one of them, wants to practice it more. Eventually, if it is part of their genetic makeup, they become very good at it, and we call it a talent, and the parent is proud for discovering their child's talent. And that could have very easily not happened if they lived one street down, one house down the street, and met a different neighbor who's taking her children to basketball instead. So uh, today, science has come very far in identifying these hidden potentials, these hidden talents in children. Starting the age of 5, we can know if there is music talent, if there are sports talents, if there are certain school subjects that they would enjoy more than other school subjects. So, to summarize what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to say is that focus on building competencies and learning should be not substituted but complemented with the basics, which is identifying the child's motivators before we develop the skills. A child that has musically talented is only asked by his mother to go down and practice the piano for a few weeks, and then after that they will start going and practicing by themselves. Whereas another child that's not musically talented will always need to be reminded to go and practice. This is the difference. And if you look at two people who have been playing piano for 20 years and ask them to play Moonlight, you will hear the exact same song. But if you go watch them live, you will know which one is the talented one because you can see the soul coming out. That's the only difference. It's the level of motivation. It's not the skill. We can acquire any skill we want.
Yeah,
Do we want our children? Do we want employees to know how to do things only, or do we also want them to be enjoying?
I think it depends on the company,
Most
the
companies are
organization.
hired for skill. This explains why last year, 2024, in the United States, there was a cost of $1.2 trillion in employee turnover. Did you know that 57% of employees who joined the job in 2024 left within 2024?
Whoa. No, I didn't know that.
More
I
than
didn't know it
half
was
of the people who started a job in the American market in 2024 left within the same year. 75% of that 57% left within the first 6 months. That's because on paper, on the CV, everything looks right. The qualifications are there, the education, the experience, etc. But we start discovering people's motivation later after they start work.
that. Bass backwards. We're doing it the exact opposite way that creates outcomes that are desirable for everyone.
Yeah, and we are. It's just a hit and miss thing. And we're celebrating all the hits, but we're not realizing how many misses, how many more misses are happening.
Charlie Munger said, my goal in life is not to become smarter, it's to become less dumb.
Hmm.
So this podcast for me starting to back up is like my goal to become a little less dumb and a little wiser and also less scared because reaching out to people like yourself, never having any prior interaction. I'm like, okay, like, well, maybe maybe I'll learn something from this guy and can share it with a few people and become a little less scared of like that whole experience. I can enjoy it a little bit more.
It was actually quite a nice conversation, really. I enjoyed it. Total improvisation, no
Yeah,
preparation, but it went well. It's sad that
yeah.
we do all of these amazing conversations and end up having only a few people watching the entire thing.
Right, right, exactly. But the few, it's like Margaret Mead said, it starts with one and it builds,
Yes, yes.
right?
I published the first episode of my podcast, of my season two of my podcast this morning. I don't know if you had the chance to see it.
Not yet.
So in this podcast, they're 5 minute episodes each, and I have a boy actor with me. He's 10 years old, and he's acting as my 10-year-old self. So I'm talking to myself when I was 10, and what he's doing is he's reminding me of everything we enjoyed in life when we were 10, and some incidents that happened at school and in life. And now, when I'm close to 50, I'm reminded by who I used to be and comparing that with who I have become and making decisions on how to reconnect with these parts that I left behind. So in that podcast, I think of every single word. It's all scripted. I think of the every word, make it powerful, make it inspiring, etc. In my mind, I want everyone to watch them. 5 minutes, they're inspiring and they tell a powerful story. But you end up getting a few likes and a few impressions. But like you, maybe one day more and more people will start.
And what is the name of your podcast?
It's Meet Yourself podcast. I published the first episode of season two this morning on my LinkedIn, so you can see it there.
I'll share it. I mean, I'll share it. Yeah, I saw a little bit of it, and I was like, I didn't know if it was an actor or your son or yeah, like what. It's really cool because to me, it's tapping into your childlike senses, and we all could benefit for doing that just a little bit more,
Yes,
couldn't we?
absolutely. In the next episode, I he's reminding me of our love to travel and discover the world. So what I've been doing in preparation for this episode, I have actually been building a camping, and I finished it a couple of weeks ago. And the boy is going to be giving me an advice to go and travel the world like we dreamt when we were 10. And I'm actually going to start doing that in the next month.
What does that feel like? That anticipation for you?
It's exciting. I might not go and tour the world. It's difficult to leave everything behind and do that. But just the fact that I spent a couple of months doing my work, and then in during the breaks, I rented a carpentry workshop. I've never been to a carpentry in my life, and now I have like my own for 2 months. And I was making wood and stuff, and I built a whole camping trailer. You see how amazing it is. I took it out last week. People were stopping me in on the road and asking if I'm willing to sell it for $10,000 and $15,000. It's about
Was that like shocking to you? Surprising to you?
in the beginning, yes, because I did not draw anything. I just imagined how I want it to be. You can imagine how many nails and how many pieces of wood went to waste in that process. But I eventually did it exactly like I imagined it. And now I look at it and I can see that my heart was put in it.
Imagination's more important than knowledge.
Hmm.
I think that's Einstein. Yeah.
Knowledge is just a single piece of information. It's knowing that there is knowledge, knowledge. You get the pun?
Yeah, I do. I do.
It's a pun. Don't you get information?
I'm slow most of the time, but I get some. I get some.
It's not that great information. It's knowing that there's knowledge.
That's so good.
Hmm.
And where are you excited to go? Where are you excited to travel?
So I'm
Like, have you?
starting in Turkey and then going east in Asia, but I don't know where.
Yeah. Where's your family from?
I am
Generations. Yeah.
Lebanese.
Lebanese. Okay. Yeah. Wow. And
And you?
have you? My family originally from Russian,
Okay.
yeah, Stoloff. So Jewish, Russian, Polish. Yeah.
Is it
I've not
Stoloff?
been there.
Is it Stolovsky? What is it Stoloff?
Stoloff, yeah, that's a good question. I need to go do more research to know, like, yeah, if it was shortened at some point.
Because I know it's Stolovsky. This is why I'm a
Good guy, bad guy,
good guy.
good guy. Okay.
Kindness is measured by the prefix. Now, anyone, just as a general rule, anyone with the name starting with with Stololo is a kind person.
I like that. I like that. You know, that's my goal is kindness. We're doing quotes, right? Kindness is a language the deaf can hear and the blind can see.
Mm,
Right?
nice.
Like it doesn't take you don't have to be powerful or anything like that. It doesn't take $10 million to be kind.
Yes.
It's an act of generosity.
Yeah. A person can only be bad. They cannot be kind of a bad person because kind and bad cannot be in the same sentence.
Yes, right. When I was in third grade, teacher went around and she's like, "So what do you want to be when you grow up?" And it was like, I don't know, 8 or 10 people go before me. And I said, she goes, Chad? And I said, I want to be nice.
Mm,
And she goes, "That's not what I was asking." And I was like, "Oh, I know what you were asking." I was like, and I was like, "And you're mean." I was like thinking that. And I was like, "What's wrong with growing up to be kind and generous and compassionate and empathetic? Like, who the heck cares in some respect what profession I have or what career I have?" Like, like you're saying, when I think back to when I was a kid, it's like way more important to me to have to amplify qualities about myself than have an identity of X. I'm going to be whatever.
I like that. And it just made me realize that if I tell people right now that I was on a podcast and people ask me about you, I don't know much about what you do, but I can definitely tell them that you are a kind, easy to talk to, empathetic person, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you can feel that, right?
Yes, of course. I don't know if it's
Yes.
Riverside or amplifying that, but or whether we get the same feeling on Zoom, but that's the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's just I think I was telling somebody else last night. I was like, that's who I want to be in the world. I'm not caught up in all around when I'm at church on Sundays. I go to a Unitarian church in Denver here, and people will come up like the other day afterwards, and the person was like, I hadn't spoken to in a while, and they were like, "So, what are you doing with your life for job and your career, that sort of thing, right? Since last time we spoke." And I was like, okay, I can tell her, but I was like, that's not really what I want to talk about, So I tried to like direct the question because to me, that's not that interesting. Like doing this is endlessly fascinating to me because our first conversation approaching an hour and I'm learning about the way you see the world and how you want to show up in the world and what impact, what dent you want to make with the time you have. That's way more interesting to me than like a title or a box or anything like that.
It only reflects who you are. I have a can make an assumption here that if we test your DNA, that there's going
Yeah.
to be a lot of empathy and kindness and relatedness in it. These
That's
are great
fascinating.
human qualities. And these today are not only qualities that we can nurture, they are slowly becoming the only qualities we can nurture. Because everything else soon is going to be replaced by a machine doing those for us. If you're intelligent today, one day you're not going to be needed. But if you're empathetic, that might be the only thing, the only value you can bring as a human being.
And do you think it'll become even a higher commodity because of that?
This is why I created a global index called the Human Index. So what I do is I test through DNA sequencing. I test how much of these human qualities are part of your genetic blueprint. advising people to work on nurturing those human qualities in them because the way I'm seeing the world heading, one day we will only be able to provide these, and these will become the rare commodities that are super expensive.
Invaluable.
The friendliness, the generosity, the empathy, the relatedness, the sociability, the drive, the confidence, the things that are pure human in us are not going to be replaced by a machine.
They're the things that make us human. Yeah. And how long has it taken you to come up with this assessment, this DNA assessment? Like, can you talk to me? Are you willing to talk to me about like what that process has been like?
So I've been doing this for a while. I ran the leadership brain-based leadership program at Cambridge for a while. And I had thousands of delegates, which I used to test this way. So I do three different assessments. I do a DNA test, I do a neuroscience-based assessment, and a psychology-based assessment, and I map the results together. But since the lockdown, I started working on building the algorithm, and now we have a proprietary software that automatically generates your results no matter what the combination of scores is. And there are millions of different combinations.
Millions of different combinations out of these 446 human traits.
We don't assess, we only took the 54 traits that have the clearest genetic evidence. So traits like, very important ones like leadership, self-awareness, self-discipline, communication, emotional intelligence, drive, intellectual, rational thinking, creativity. So 54 most validated traits are measured through the DNA test. And then we measure the four different thinking attributes and where the brain has higher energy. And we measure 14 acquired competencies. So you can be born creative, but then we measure how creative you actually are. You can be born intuitive, but we measure how accurate is your intuition. And we compare them together. Is there a talent that has not been nurtured? Or has life pushed you to acquire a competency that is not part of your nature?
And if you have, let's say, for example, that natural talent for intuition, and that shows up there on the assessment, is it something that you can nurture going forward and like make stronger?
Always, regardless if it's part of your nature or not, we can learn skills. You don't have to be musically talented to learn the piano.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
learning part
There's
is,
hope for me.
yeah, can give people, can teach people skills, but you cannot give them talent. Talent is not given, it is innate.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And how long does the assessment take for the person, for the client? Like how long is the process of taking the assessment?
Takes about a month to get the results, usually, because the DNA sequencing takes a couple of weeks, and there's also time wasted on sending the testing kit to the client and collecting it back to send it to the lab, and doing all of that with the highest levels of confidentiality and data privacy. So that requires some time. The average is 3 weeks to 1 month before we get the results. But then, if you scroll a little bit through my LinkedIn profile, you'll see how many people are talking about how transformative that experience was for them.
If you can share, how many people so far have taken the assessment?
Well, I've done over 25,000 right now in a corporate context, and many more before as for research.
That's a good number.
Yeah, but this should be in the hands of every parent, every educator, every business leader. We need to stop pushing people to develop themselves in areas that do not give them a sense of fulfillment.
It's like pushing a rope.
Yes, they're going to comply. Children will going to say okay to their parents. Employees are going to say okay, please give me my salary. But are they hating their life between 8 and 5?
Yeah. And then the numbers show that they are, like you were talking about earlier.
I also have an article I published on LinkedIn called How Much Is It Costing You Not Knowing Who You Are?
Oh,
And I did a simulation of if someone is paid 100,000 per year, over 10 years, how much are they actually losing by not knowing who they are in terms of the cost of their stress, the lack of motivation, the need for vacation, medications, etc. I talked to ChatGPT to try to get as accurate as possible in the simulation. And it ended up as a very nice article. So if you want to look it up, how much is it costing you not knowing who you are? We don't make as much money as we think. We're spending a lot of that. It's going to waste because we're trying to compensate for not being in the right place.
I mean, I definitely will devour, not just read, devour that article.
But leave some of it for other people to read. Don't devour the whole. Please, I need it there on my feet.
Uh, Do you think it's like 100 times, or is it even quantifiable?
It's very difficult to quantify it. I try to get as close as possible in a very simple simulation, but it's obvious through this simulation that we spend a lot of what we earn on trying to fix the the damage of not doing the things we enjoy.
Totally. It's like a society that is solving for the symptom rather than going to the cause.
Yeah, it's like telling people you have stress, you're stressed. Here's take a medication. But do we
Yes.
know why they're stressed? Can we quantify the damage caused by that stress? It's really difficult. But we know that this is actually happening in the lives of each one of us. And we need to realize that we have a choice. We have a choice of not living the way we live. You know, I was watching something the other day. There's this guy that goes around and asks people, "What do you do for a living?" You know him? He finds people coming out of fancy hotels in Ferraris and Rolls Royce, and he asks them, "What do you do for a living?" And he saw this old man in a convertible Ferrari, goes to him and says, "What do you do for a living?" He says, "Let me give you a life advice." He said, "If you wake up every morning and start working early, and work very hard and work very smart, and do that for many, many years, one day your boss will be able to afford one of these."
So good. True.
That was one of the nicest conversations I've had since this morning. No, I'm just making a joke. For a while, for a while, for a while. You're a very nice man, person.
Thank you. Right back at you.
Thank you.
How did you and Jack get connected?
So we're part of the same community called the Metal Man community. It's an US based community, but they have members from all over the world. I have not been attending for a while now because the meetings happen at a time where it's late for me.
Yes.
But I met him there. He actually took my test. He took the DNA test and all of that, and it was a very powerful experience for him.
I mean, I I can almost not imagine, and maybe it's a limitation of my imagination, how it could not be a transformational experience for people. They got to learn something that they weren't aware of,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, am I wrong in that, or
No,
where's the fallacy in that thought?
are you asking?
Where's the fallacy? Yeah, where's the fallacy in that thinking? Like, how could it not be a transformational experience?
Well, it is the way it's supposed to be. We have been trying to do this. We have been trying to identify our children's talents and our employees' talents. We just have not been using the right tools, right? We have been trying to eat a soup with a fork for a long time
Great.
and
Yeah, I
wondering
love eating
why it's not working.
that. Yeah, exactly. I love eating my soup with a fork.
Yeah,
It's
fork and knife.
so enjoyable.
3 days later, I'm still eating. I have
Yes.
another story of how I met Jack. So that was the original story, the true story. We're part of the same community.
This has been so fun. Thank
For
you.
me too. Thank you.
So, any closing thoughts you want to share with the audience, with the world out there?
Yes, whoever is listening, just I want to remind them to reflect on how their life is going and when was the last time they were truly happy? What were they doing? And I want to ask them, how much do you know about what drives you from inside? And if you want to know, there is a way. Meetyourself.me, go there, get an assessment, find out what your DNA says about you, and honor who you truly are.
That's beautiful.
And subscribe and follow Chad Stoloff because he's a good man and he's trying to spread a good message in the world.
But but there's a beauty. There's a beauty in diving deep,
Mm.
right? Like the roots drive the fruits, I like to say. So, you go down to the depth of the ocean, you go to the bottom of the ocean, and you're going to find things that you're not going to find on the surface. And so I'm not trying to cater to the people who want just like the short 30-second or whatever, yeah, maybe that'll spark an interest, a curiosity to explore your work more, take your assessment and honor themselves so they can, number one, like you said, enjoy life, like INJOY, right? And be in a state of joy. I think we misspelled it. It should not be spelled EN in the English language. I think it should be IN. And then two is by doing that, bringing a unique value to the world, like Mark Twain said, the moment you find out why you were born is is really the first day of your life. Like, so thank you so much for not only this conversation, but the work you're doing in the world,
Thank
because
you.
your efforts in the world.
Thank you. And thank you for shedding light on what we are doing. You're doing an amazing job where it has become our obligation, our responsibility to create that positive energy, to balance the negative energy that is multiplying very quickly in the world. So we have to put more effort now.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and if you liked it, please share with a friend on social media. That goes a long way to promoting this podcast so I can continue to interview and share these conversations with fascinating people. You can follow me on social media, Chad Stoloff, and visit my website, chadstoloff.wordpress.com, for more information. I'd love it if you would leave a review to support the podcast. Thanks so much. Until next time.